Hi. Hi, this is Melissa Saliva with Beacon Valley Literacy, and tonight is Topic Tuesday. I have my good friend Jackie Trimandilis, reading consultant and language art expert. Basically, she is the kind of person that makes me want to be a better teacher. Not only is she a good friend of mine, but she's an English teacher, so we both have a different level of experience.
Thank you, my friend. I'm happy to be here. This is very exciting. I'm excited to talk about vocabulary.
Yeah, so I invited you on tonight because we talk and we talk and we talk, and what we talk about the most is our kids, right? The kids that we
I
share professionally, and then our kids that we gave birth to, right?
guess.
We talk about the things that come out of our little kids' mouths, which isn't always like
Every day,
polite.
surprise. I'm learning.
Oh,
My daughter repeats everything I do, so yeah.
I don't know. And we talk like because you have a little one, and I've had a bunch of little ones, and
Yes.
it's like the things that they say, you cannot control it, and they're always watching you, and the vocabulary development. And your daughter has an incredible vocabulary. And how
Yeah.
did you build it?
I think from lots of talking. Sometimes, she'll say a word and I'll think to myself, where did she get that? And I realize that she's picked it up from conversation that my husband and I have had, or even, and we can talk a little bit more about this later, but when I speak with her, I use, more advanced language just as an opportunity for her to be exposed to it and hear it so that when we read it in a book or she hears it again, she can go back.
Right. I mean, and there's no more like we both know this is like a racy sub. There's no more like creative fake names for like body parts or things like that. We're just off the gates. We're
Oh,
teaching kids
yes.
vocab.
Yes, I think it's important because I think that knowing the proper names for things, like my daughter's 3, so you can imagine, um, I think it's appropriate.
So we are good at, the whole world is probably good at teaching their kids vocabulary when their kids are little because it's language acquisition, right? It's supply and demand. Like without the words that they're learning when they're little, they can't have the things that they want.
Yeah, and I think, when they're little, there's still that motivation and excitement, and we have to find ways as parents, and you and I as educators to kind of keep that excitement alive with language and vocabulary. Because, as we know, all of the research does suggest that having, a strong vocabulary early on is a great predictor of your success as a reader.
Definitely in the background knowledge. So professionally, I love talking to you because you have this huge English and language arts background that you've applied to older kids. So
Yes.
vocab for us is like a major focus instructionally, like now. And it's a little bit more challenging when kids get older. So what do you think parents need to know about vocabulary development in the later years?
I think it's really important to do as much reading as a family as you can. And I know that I've taught, 6th grade through 12th. So I've heard from parents how challenging that can be to get them to read anything. But we
Mhm.
need to get creative in what we consider reading material at home. So
Right.
if you have a child that's really interested in cooking, like maybe you're using cookbooks or looking up recipes, things like that, so that you're exposing them to a wide variety of texts. Like we don't need to just think like novel books for reading. Like
Right.
we can read as a family in an area of interest and make
Mhm.
it. You have to try, fake it till you make it. I feel like that's all we do as parents, to
Oh,
make
tell me
it.
about it.
Yeah, to make it like it's natural. Like it's not like, oh, it's reading time, everyone, to learn vocabulary. It's got to be like
Mhm.
a natural part of the day to day.
I wasn't, we talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about before we talk. And this didn't come up before, but I know our family, we like give gifts. We give books as gifts sometimes, and it really helps. And one thing that like goes over big is like the Guinness Book of World Records for each year.
Oh yeah.
And some of that you just wind up, before you notice, you're like halfway through it, and the kids are like, look at this, look at that. So I know that that helps, you know. I guess the big message too is for us to get vocab from reading a wide range and a variety of things.
Absolutely.
You know, one
And
thing I've
let
known.
the kids have some choice. Like, maybe like again, it doesn't need to be like going to a bookstore. Like it might be, a magazine, or it could be something online, a blog from a sports blog, things like
Mhm.
that. You can get creative.
Right, right. I feel like um we get into somewhat like artificial teaching somewhat because of the SATs or the pressure to build big vocabulary words. And it's like you had said to me something really funny, like don't quiz your kids.
Right. And this is something like as teachers, we sometimes do with good intention. And I've started to notice I do it as well with my daughter. And it's almost like you want to know, like, well, what do you know? Like, how much do you know? So instead of asking your child, like, what does such and such word mean? Just tell them, give it to them in everyday language to make the word accessible. And
Mhm.
and then mention it again a few times, like maybe make a point. But all of this needs to be happening kind of behind the scenes, so that your kids, teenagers, preteens don't know that you're making a point of doing it.
Right. I guess like it's kind of like intentionally, unintentionally teaching vocab in everyday use to your kids, right?
Well, right, but I completely, and that's like that incidental, vocabulary is how it has meaning.
Mhm.
Looking up, like the days of having your kid look up a definition in a glossary in the back of the book, or on in a dictionary, those days are gone. I mean, we know that doesn't work, or at
Right,
least we as teachers know that. So that's why I think it's important to share that with parents, that
right.
need to, give them the definition in everyday language and try to make it feel authentic.
Right. And I guess the world is teaching vocabulary and context is the key, and the world is our real context, right?
Exactly.
I wish it was as easy to teach older students vocab as it is to teach the little ones. It's just easier, you know. I think one thing that I would like, or we talk about all the time transferring, is if you had the opportunity to look at kind of like word parts and practice and give your kids like enough practice.
Yeah, because you also you want it to be a positive experience. So kids do know a lot more than they think they do. It's a
Mhm.
matter of teaching them how to recognize it. So if you're, I don't know, like the word, I don't know, reconstruct. So say that you're reading that word, or you could ask them, well, geez, have you heard of other words that have, that struct part in it, which
Right.
is the root, but they don't need to know it's the root, right? And then they might start to think of other words. So it's kind of just bringing words to life, and trying, and this is not easy, like this takes
Mhm.
practice and time, but it's just about creating that conversation about language to try to make it fun.
Yeah, I think that will help too. I think there's a huge payoff because the more times kids could practice and in different ways, the better results we have. We don't know how much practice it takes. Like, how
Right.
much practice do you think it takes for a kid to get a vocab word or like use it?
I think quite a few times. I mean, 10, 15 instances, I think, if it's a completely unfamiliar word,
Mhm.
maybe more. But the good news is if you start to point out like the word parts, and you teach them that, there is some reason and rhyme to vocabulary and language. Like you can figure the meanings out of
Mhm.
words um over time.
Right. So I can't thank you enough for joining us
It was
tonight. And
fun.
I know I could talk to you like forever. I mean, I want to be 100% like forthcoming. You are my work wife.
I love it. You're mine.
I just have to throw it out there. Like you really do make me want to be a better teacher. You teach me so much every single day, and the kids are lucky to have you, and I am lucky to have you.
You as well. I have learned the most from you out of anyone in my teaching career. It was
Stop.
fun.
So we're gonna leave, but if there's one takeaway that we can translate into our huge conversation about vocabulary, what do you think it would be for the parents tonight?
I think it would be that you can, in fact, take on this role of teacher of vocabulary at home
Mhm.
by using, everyday fun materials and just making it a part of the routine and doing it slowly over time.
Thank you so much. I totally appreciate
Thank
your input.
you.